Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all things mesquite beans. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're new here. Stick around to the end so you can see how I make banana bread with mesquite beans. The day I'm filming this, it is September 6, 2025, and the trees were getting kind of bare. We got really lucky with this one though. This tree was completely covered. We were able to pick almost a whole box just off of this tree. A little trick my mother-in-law taught me is you always want to taste the beans before you start picking off of the whole tree, because some trees will be really sweet and they do have a bitter tree. So you just want to take a little bean pod, break it, chew on it for a second, see if it tastes sweet. We looked out and every tree we came across, there were some sweet beans. As you can see, these beans are like a purpley red color. In a little bit, you are going to see some beans that I'll harvest and they're more of just like a beige tan color, but they all tasted the same. These trees do have little thorns on them and the ends of the little pods are pokey too. So just be careful whenever you're pulling them to not like stab your fingers and stuff. And as well, always be searching for like snakes and stuff. Make sure you're looking where you're putting your foot. I was really like vigilant and making sure there was no snakes around, and these are those beige tan beans. I harvested a day prior to this and I was getting a lot of beans that were on the ground, but my mother-in-law told me that might not be the best idea because animals might pee on them, and I didn't even think of that. So now I'm just strictly picking off of the trees. This ended up being the amount we came home with. After harvesting, your next step is going to be dehydrating the beans. If your beans are pretty dry on the tree, you won't have to dehydrate them as long, but if they're pretty plump on the tree, you're going to have to dehydrate them a lot longer. We already had some dehydrated, so I was able to get them right into the mill so we can make some mesquite banana bread. The brand mill we use today is Magic Mill. My husband's nanny scored this off a marketplace for an incredibly cheap price. These mesquite beans have a lot of sugar in them, so they're known to gum up, but this mill worked like a champ and we were able to get some mesquite bean flour from it. This mill in particular had a little lever and you can turn it up or down to make the flour more coarser or more finer. And if you harvest mesquite beans, you definitely don't have to mill it and you don't have to make it into flour. What my mom likes to do is she likes to boil the beans in some water and steep them and make some mesquite bean tea. You can also make some mesquite bean jelly. You can even roast the beans and make your own mesquite bean coffee. It's amazing that this wild tree that grows all over the desert has so many uses. Once you're done milling your flour and you're touching it, it's going to stick to your fingers a little bit because that's how much sugar is in the mesquite beans. Our next step is going to be taking the mesquite bean flour and we're going to sift it through a strainer. We had a good bit of chunky parts left in the flour, so once you get that all sifted out, you can just discard the chunky pieces, then you're left with beautiful mesquite bean flour. Now, after all of our hard work, we are about to enjoy all of our efforts with this delicious banana bread. You will be able to find my banana bread recipe in the description box below. I was going to use all mesquite bean flour for this recipe, but my mother-in-law said she read an article and it said it might be a little too overpowering. So what I ended up deciding to do was I used 1 cup all-purpose flour and a half a cup of mesquite bean flour. I will say the banana bread recipe was not overpowering at all, and I think next time I make it, I'm going to do 3/4 cup all-purpose flour and 3/4 cup mesquite bean flour. One of my favorite things to do is to just dive into the kitchen and experiment with baking and see what works and what don't and what tastes good, and it's just my favorite thing to do. I wanted to give this little advice for those who are going to harvest mesquite beans and then you're going to mill it into flour. I highly recommend getting some oxygen absorbers because there's so much sugar in this flour that it's going to definitely clump together if there's no oxygen absorber in the mason jar or bucket or whatever you're storing it in. And this particular banana bread loaf, I didn't add no chocolate chips, but that is my favorite thing to add in banana bread is chocolate chips. Banana and chocolate just go so good together. I didn't have any though, unfortunately, but I didn't skip on the nuts. We ended up adding some pecans for some crunch. I highly recommend buttering and flouring your bread loaf pan because it makes the bread slide out so easily. My recipe below will only make 1 bread loaf, so if you want to make 2, 1 for now, 1 for the freezer later, definitely double the recipe. Also, if you have any mesquite bean recipes, please drop them below in the comments because we're always looking to try something new around here. Once you have your bread loaf full, then you're going to stick it in the oven and bake it for around 50 to 55 minutes. We had lots of company. We had gumbo on the stove with potato salad, so we all ate some lunch, and then after the bread was out, everyone got to try it, and I'm telling you, not a single person had something bad to say about it. Everyone loved it, including myself. And if you don't have access to mesquite beans, you can definitely still use the recipe in the description. All you need to do is substitute the half a cup of mesquite bean flour for a half a cup of regular all-purpose flour. The only thing I'm sad about is I didn't make 2 loaves when I made this 1 loaf because it is so good. I was very impatient and I cut into it right about after 10 minutes of it being out of the oven, so it was still pretty piping hot, but I couldn't wait. I had to taste it right away. Personally, nothing is better than hot bread. I truly hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something new. You can also find my handles for TikTok and Facebook below in the description if you would like to follow me on there as well. Please don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe.